Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to transform this 10,000 Escape Plans BJD doll by giving her a darker skin tone. In my unboxing videos, I noted that there were some quality problems with these dolls, so I was determined to give them all makeovers and turn them into dolls that I love. I already repainted the purple cat girl. You can watch the tutorial in my BJD Makeovers playlist linked below. I got all of these dolls from Giga Goods. You can get 10% off your purchase at gigagoods.com with my exclusive promo code. Before you purchase, you can watch my unboxings and reviews in my channel. By the way, if you're enjoying my BJD doll content, remember to hit like and subscribe. I just started making videos earlier this year, so it would help me out a lot. Alright, let's get started. You need a pot that you won't use for cooking. This is a really old pan that I was going to throw away anyways. An extra container for rinsing, synthetic fabric dye, I'm using RIT Dye More in chocolate brown, dish soap, floss or string for dipping your parts, Mr. Clean magic eraser, paper towels, and of course gloves. And I line my counter with a trash bag to keep my kitchen clean. Keep water in the pot steaming but not boiling, and add a teaspoon of dish soap. This is supposed to promote even dyeing so you don't get streaks on your doll parts. Add the dye. I wanted to give her a dark skin color, so I added a good amount. If you're just trying to tint your doll, you should add less. Mix it with a spoon. This is actually my first time dyeing a doll, so I'm testing a tiny part, which is the elbow joint, to make sure I can get the result that I want. The elbow wasn't getting very dark at all, so I realized that I need to add more dye to the mixture. I tested the elbow again and was able to get the color that I want. Now I'm going to start dyeing the rest of the doll, starting with one of the legs. I used floss to tie all the parts and hang them from 2 chopsticks that I taped together. I periodically check the parts to make sure things are going smoothly. It's still too light, so I'm going to put it back in the dye bath. By the way, I'm watching the clock to keep track of how much time has passed. This will let me know how long to dip the remaining parts in the dye bath. After 6.5 minutes, I finally reached my desired color, so I put the parts in the rinsing container, which is filled with cold water, and wipe each part one by one with a magic eraser. I cut the eraser in small pieces so it can last longer. Here's the thigh that I just dyed compared to the original skin color. You can see that it's much darker. Now I'm moving on and dyeing one whole arm. Because the arm parts are much thinner than the legs, it only took about 5 minutes to reach the same color as the legs. Now I'm dyeing the other leg plus the torso, but oh no, the water has evaporated. This is why it's a good idea to keep a kettle of hot water nearby so you can refill the dye bath. Remember to mix after you add more water. Now you can put the parts back inside. After 6 minutes, I checked to see if the color matches the leg that I already dyed. It's a little too light since I just diluted the mixture with more water, so I left it in for a little longer. Once they reached the right color, I took them out of the dye bath. Now I'm dyeing the remaining arm. The torso actually needs more dye because it's such a thick piece, so I'm adding it here again. Last are the faces. Before dyeing, I need to wipe off the old face paint with acetone on a cotton pad. Rinse it with cold water before putting it in the hot dye. So my pan was barely deep enough to cover the head. I had to dye it face down to make sure it looked right. You're actually not supposed to let the parts touch the bottom of the pot because it could burn your doll. I had to check pretty often to make sure my parts were okay. Ideally, you would use a deeper pot, but this is what I had at the time. Next time, I'll go find a really cheap pot at a thrift store. Here are all the dyed parts. As you can see, she's much darker than her original skin tone. I kept the strings on because I'm going to spray all of these parts with a clear matte sealant. This will help prevent her skin getting scratched and revealing her original color underneath. Okay, I have sprayed and sealed all of the parts and removed the strings. Right after dyeing, some parts had uneven surface texture that made the color look uneven. Spraying the parts with a matte sealant helped even out the surfaces and make the color look more uniform. Now I'm restringing the doll. The joints of this doll were very loose right out of the box, which seems to be a common problem with these 10,000 Escapes BJD. So I'm tightening the strings as I go. You can watch my restringing tutorial linked below. I show you an easy way to do it without any special tools. Here she is, all put together. What do you think? There aren't very many BJD with dark skin out there, and I thought a dark skin tone would be a good contrast to her white outfit. I already gave her some handmade eyes, and I'm gonna paint her face as well, so stay tuned for that makeover tutorial. You can see her next to the previous doll that I repainted. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching!